that speech is about, and no matter how it goes, how well rehearsed, practice, or articulate or eloquent it is, 10% of the people that are in that room will come up afterwards and tell the speaker how amazing they were. Some may even tell them that they changed or impact their life significantly. Now, of the other 90 people, 80% don't come up, and another 10% disliked it completely. They thought it was the worst thing ever. You were like fingernails on a chalkboard. That mathematical equation of frequency, of spectrum, is essential to understanding not only to thine own self be true and the importance of it, but moreover in the size, scope, and scale of the audience that we reach today. Because when we started off and you had to be there in person and 100 people would be in that room from the very start of your speaking career or the very start of building your brand for your product, service, or solution, we get fooled by the 10% that tell us how great we are. And the reason they tell us how great we are, the reason we tell how great we are is simply because they are on our frequency. And at that frequency, we are on that frequency. And I apologize. Here we go. And at that frequency, no matter what we would say, it would resonate with that 10%. So I believe, and I'm going to test this out someday, maybe here on Clubhouse, that I could, for 30 minutes, say the word the. And at the end of 30 minutes, 10% of the people would tell me, oh my gosh, that was genius. You must have taken the genius key from Amelia. That was amazing, the way you taught patience, the way you taught consistency, the way that you utilized redundant behavior in order to effectuate an aggregative energy that blah, blah. No, you're just on my frequency. And saying the for 30 minutes is absolutely asinine. It has no purpose at all. But I'm glad that you're on my frequency, because no matter what I say, you're going to love it. Now, the other side of frequency is that you need to understand the base root of the word frequency. The base root of the word frequency is frequent. So the more frequent we are with who we are, the better it will become. And so I want you to remember that practice consistent, persistent behavior in your frequency and branding your frequent frequency is so essential. Why? Because you're never going to capture that last 10%. You'll always capture the first 10%, but we want to aggregate and capture the other 80%. And the only way you do that is through consistent, persistent branding. Being able and showing up weekly, monthly, or daily, hourly, whatever your own frequency is in this frequent behavior. And so Shakespeare, when he talked about to thine own self be true, not only was talking about creating and knowing your own frequency, but being frequent with your frequency and understanding the spectrum and the size, scope, and scale of being able to reach almost 7 billion people online. Can you imagine just if you are able and capable through frequent behavior to be able to just get the 10% that's on your spectrum or your frequency as you aggregate the other 80% and ignore or learn from the last 10% that dislikes you immensely or thinks you are fingernails on a chalkboard. So the first part of building a brand is finding your frequency, knowing what you want, who you can help, who can help you, and how to get it done, being yourself, not caring what other people think, but learning from it so that you can make the necessary changes, find the lessons that are wrapped within the mistakes, failures, and setbacks that allow you to expand, grow, and accelerate your brand. Whether it's your personal brand, like Amelia Antonetti, or a professional product, service, or solution like Genius Key. Either way, you need to know the what, the who, and the how in order to prioritize what's important to create the frequent communication, the frequent exposure and awareness that comes from branding. This is how you're most efficient, effective, and statistically successful in building a brand. The brand itself will only aggregate upon itself on consistent behavior, as all consistent behavior, positive and negative, compounds in its own interest. When I met 5 years ago at Super Bowl to work with Gary Vaynerchuk and his sports agency, we talked about building my brand, finding my frequency. And I told him, why would anybody want to, on Instagram or on LinkedIn or anywhere, listen to a middle-aged mutant turtle talk about spiritual business or Think and Grow Rich or Wayne Dyer or other topics that are more within the alignment of my frequency, the power of intention, the surrender experiment, whatever it may be. And he convinced me that there's this huge audience and that 10% of them are going to always love me. And if I am as consistent as I say, if consistency is my superpower, then I will benefit greatly by capturing the 80%. And when he said it, it clicked to me what my objective would be. And my objective would be ambassadorship. So this ambassadorship would be the capability of finding not only my frequency, but empowering others with my frequency to empower other people to build that brand. And to the aggregate effect, if I could just find 2 people a year that would tell everybody to join the Genius Key, or 2 people a year to tell everyone to listen to my podcast, watch my TV shows, hire me to speak, become coaching, come to my free trainings on Friday, read my books, whatever it may be. If I could just get 2 people a year to tell 2 people and empower 2 people a year, within 20 years, when I was 70 years old, I would be the most popular 70-year-old on Instagram, on LinkedIn, because I would have 2 million people, 2 million ambassadors telling 2 million ambassadors every single year to make it 4 million, 8 million, et cetera. You have to have patience that reconciles with that persistent, consistent branding, that frequency. You cannot attach your emotions to an effect or an outcome. It will just slow it down. It slows it down not only in man-made constructive times. If you put your attention and intention on an outcome or an effect, it automatically slows it down because you'll get there in more time, and it'll seem like exponentially more time than even that. Let me give you an example. I'm in Southern California, and if you and I were going to drive to San Diego, and your attention and intention was on getting to San Diego, and to Maine from San Diego. I can't wait till we get to Maine. We're gonna have lobster in Maine. I love lobster. I can't be so happy when I get to Maine. This is gonna be incredible. And I only focus in on the cause, putting my attention and intention on how can I efficiently get to Maine? Should I pack my food? Is there a bucket so I can go to the bathroom? What maps should I use that have the best directions that can indicate any changes in the route or any accidents or police traps, whatever it may be? Who's going to get there faster? The person who puts their attention and intention on the cause, not the outcome. You need the outcome as a trajectory, as a target that can change every day. I could wake up the next morning and say, you know what? I don't want to go to Maine. I want to go to New York. But in essence, I will not only in pragmatic time get there faster, whether it's building my brand, finding my frequency, or getting to Maine in a car, but more importantly, relatively, I will get there faster no matter what. Exponentially, it will take so much longer for the person that says, I can't wait to get to Maine. And this is the way that brands are built. Too many people get too impatient by putting their emotions and intentions on this outcome that they don't know, instead of putting their attention and intention on what they do know, what their frequency is, who they are. To thine own self be true. And so spending the time to know your what, your who, your how, to learn to prioritize every day what's important to you, to learn lessons about other people that may not want what you want, not caring and creating resistance from it, is essential. The second Shakespearean philosophy that's essential in what we do to build a brand, to find our frequency, is to understand the stages that we're on in branding. And the stages that we're on has 4 components. See, Shakespeare said years and years and years ago, with no knowledge of the internet, that the whole world is your stage. Now, I find that difficult to believe, working in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, that the whole world was my stage. But as I enter 2022, there is no doubt that the whole world is my stage now. And if that's true, the whole world, the 7 billion people that are available, that have attention and intention on this great medium that allows us to share ourselves, then we actually have a 4-part process to branding, to finding our frequency. And the first part process of that is to make sure we're capturing our frequency, that we're capturing our essence, that we're capturing our product, service, or solution. And if we are practicing capturing that, the better we capture what we do that is our essence or our frequency, the more content that we'll have. We don't necessarily have to utilize the content streaming live like I do here every Friday for over 22 years on the internet, but we can capture all types of things that we never were able to capture before. So if we have a radio show, we can capture the radio show and utilize it at a later date. If I purchase a billboard, I can capture that billboard and utilize it later on. If I have a conversation in a car, a meetup, one of my favorite examples is the lessons of humility. I had a bucket list item of being featured in American Way magazine. I fly American. I fly about 200 days a year, and I'm always reading that magazine when I'm bored. And I always thought, man, if I could be featured in here, what a great credibility it would give me, a great ego stroke of my great success that I've had. And sure enough, I get offered to be featured in American Way magazine. And I get to choose what month I want to be in. And of course, I choose holiday months of December and January. And little did I know, come March, that COVID would hit, and that December of 2020 and that January 2020 had the least amount of flyers in the history of flight almost. So what did I do? I reminded myself of my frequency, which is to teach radical humility, to give examples, sometimes self-deprecating examples of how my own ego gets in my way, creates interferences, voids, and obstacles from what I would like that frequency to be, which is to live in radical humility, not arrogance, but radical humility. And so what did I do? I took the American Way magazine and I captured it. Why was that so important? Because once I captured it, although there may have been hundreds, if not thousands of people that read the article that flew in December and January of 2021 and 20, but more importantly, I now had it captured to utilize as a video to teach radical humility and to make fun of myself. So I modified what was originally on stage. I modified it into a video format, into a picture format, and I created memes and videos about radical humility, all in the while amplifying the fact that I was in American Way magazine, giving myself the same, if not more, credibility than it would have been sitting in the back pocket of a chair on a plane. If you realize that the whole world is your stage, then you should have a strategy for all four components of a stage, which is one, how are you capturing what's going on in the stage? A radio show, a newspaper article, a magazine, on a stage speaking live, or on a Zoom, or on a billboard, or in a meeting, or traveling in a car. You want to be able to create a strategy to capture your essence, your frequency, and then create a strategy and systems and capabilities to modify it for all the different platforms so you can reach more and more of that spectrum as you find that frequency. And we learn to build a brand through aggregate effect, through consistent behavior, through frequent exposure and awareness. And the way that we do that is we now modify it specifically for Instagram, TikTok, Zoom, StreamYard, Riverside, all the different places that exist. And we modify it to be utilized to amplify that frequency. So now instead of standing on a stage in front of 100 people, you now have captured it as your audience builds so that 20 years later, when there's 2 million people empowering 2 million people to learn lessons, you can then post a video of a speech you did 20 years ago that now will have a significant impact because it's amplified. Once again, frequency, persistence, being frequent with your frequency to thine own self be true, now has an exponentiality to it because we have put our intention and attention on the cause, not the effect or outcome. We're not worried about the American Way magazine being in the back pocket in December of 2020 and January of 2021. We're more concerned about the essence and how we're capturing, modifying, and amplifying that essence to a community that is aggregating and growing exponentially from 2 people to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, and so on until it's 2 million getting 2 million, 4 million getting 4 million, and so on and so on. If you do not have a strategy to capture your essence, your frequency, if you do not have a strategy to modify it, not just to the platforms that exist today, but to have processes to modify it for platforms that will exist in the future, as well as amplify it effectively with time and value in mind of how much time and value do you need to put into the amplification if your audience is 2 or 4 or 8, which leads me to the fourth strategy that most people don't have the foresight or vision yet to understand. And that is the strategy of perpetual content. Remember, we have gone from instantaneous real-time access into binge watching perpetual repositories. Our shift from remembering, reminding, and recollecting is now more access. I talk about to people that, only reason I have my kids learn other languages is to utilize the part of the brain as a practice, like batting practice, to learn how to utilize that part of the brain as a muscle. Utilizing and learning the actual language for practice is not only irrelevant and capricious, but a waste of time. I just had a service. I'm putting my content into Latin America and to reach the Spanish speaking world. And I speak Spanish at like a 4 out of 10. So it's very difficult for me to not only motivate, but to inspire, to communicate or articulate quantitative value effectively in Spanish. I could take the time to become more fluent in Spanish, but it certainly was a lot easier to utilize a new technology that translates my actual voice and my actual content into Spanish. So accurate and so beautiful that I listened to the first example of my first video and I was lying next to my wife and she goes, "Wow, you've really gotten better at reading Spanish." I said, "I'm not reading," pretending like I was insulted. She goes, "You're not speaking that. I know you. There's no way you could have learned to be that fluent so quickly. I know how you speak Spanish. You know a few key phrases, but you stumble and mumble all over yourself." I said, "Nope, I didn't read it. That's AI. That's recorded." It was so good that my own wife thought I was speaking Spanish. See, the perpetual nature of content in the future will be exponentially more valuable to everyone in not only finding your frequency, but building your brand, because it aggregates on itself as well. The more content that you have that's aggregating upon itself, the more frequent people see your frequency, which then also enhances the amount of content that you've captured, how important the modification is for the future, because it is perpetual, and of course, the exponentiality of amplifying it to the world, because the size, scope, and scale of the potential audience is unfathomable. You can't even imagine how big a community can get and what impact it has on your life. If I didn't know how to prioritize, prioritization being the antidote of overwhelmedness and feeling abundant, I would feel overwhelmed all the time, as little of an audience that I have. As little of an audience when you have just a few million people out of 7.4 billion people, a few million people. But then again, I dreamed years ago of being able to stand into a stadium or an arena with 6,000 people, 10,000 people, 20,000 people. Too many people take for granted what other people are wishing for. Too many people take for granted when it comes to finding the frequency and building your brand what they were wishing for, because we can't fathom the size, scope, and scale of the audience. So Shakespeare had it right. To thine own self be true. Find your own frequency. Know your what, your who, the how, and prioritize what's important to you by learning lessons from other people, not caring about what they say, unraveling the lessons from the mistakes that you made, testing and going and growing, utilizing it. But you have to be true to yourself. You have to find that frequency. Whether you're Amelia Antonetti or Genius Key, you have to know that frequency. You have to be able to discern what, who, and how in order to prioritize the application of your frequency or your why. And if you do so, you'll aggregate the 10% that automatically love you. You'll continue to grow the audience from the 80% that are open-minded, open-hearted, and open-handed that want to love you or learn from you. And you will let them fall away and fire them, the 10% that will never, ever love you or like you. They will just bleed you. They will attack you. They will judge you. They will put conditions projecting their insecurities upon you. And you won't care. All you'll do is unravel the lessons from what they're saying and pray for their happiness so they don't attack other people, put judgments or conditions on others as they're trying to do to you. All you'll be doing is finding your frequency and being frequent with your frequency by capturing it, modifying it, amplifying it, and perpetuating it. If you do this, three things will occur, and then we'll take some questions. If anybody wants the Shakespearean philosophies, if you want these, just email me. I'll send you a guide on how to capture, modify, amplify, and perpetuate, how to build a brand and find your frequency. I have a terrific guide for you. I'm happy to send it to you, david@dmeltzer.com, to just reach out. More than happy. But more importantly, what happens when we do this? What happens when we realize, right, that Shakespeare was correct? I find my frequency every day, not being afraid of a hypocrite, changing my mind, learning, growing, and accelerating. And I understand the whole world is my stage. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm using prioritization as a antidote to feeling overwhelmed. In fact, I feel blessed when I'm overwhelmed because I'm living in abundance. I have more than enough to do, more than enough people to follow up with, more than enough opportunity options, more than enough events to go to, more than enough people to see, parties to go to. What do? Well, if you utilize the Shakespearean philosophy of to thine own self be true in the stage theory, you will strengthen your signal. So part of the aggregate effect is that your signal will reach farther. It won't just reach into your community center. It won't just reach to your city, state, or country. It will reach around the world. And I see that happening today with my individual brand. It's incredible the impact on people that are on the other side of the world that you have no imagination exist. You will strengthen your frequency. So more people will be able to be aware of it. The second thing that happens is you will widen the spectrum. So instead of just the 10% resonating with you, slowly but surely it'll become 20, 30, 40, or even 50% derived from the 80% that have open minds, open hearts, and open hands. And the amount of time that you spend not worrying about those who bleed you, not worrying about what's missing, what you don't want, what other people think that are bleeding you. Remember, 80% of most people's time are spent with people that bleed them. They're so worried about that person that says, you're stupid, that's stupid, I don't like you. No, I pray for your happiness, and let me know why, because I want to learn from it. I want to unravel the lesson from that and other mistakes that I make. But I don't care, right? I'm not going to let it create interference, void shortages, set me off in a different trajectory. I'm not going to focus in on what other people think, what's missing, what I don't want, what other people's judgments, conditions, and attacks say. But I'm going to learn from them, and I'm going to pray for their happiness so they don't judge or put conditions or other things on other people. So if I can strengthen my signal, which will reach more people, and widen my spectrum, which will resonate with more people, then the only other thing in frequency that I have to worry about is the clarity of message. And once again, the root of the word frequency is frequent. And everybody knows the more we practice, the better we get. The reason I love Clubhouse and the Breakfast of Champions and what we do here is that this is the room of improvement. And the way that we improve is through consistent, persistent pursuit of that potential, of that truth. You need to practice. You need to step onto more stages. You need to get into more screens. You need to look into more mirrors. You have to look into more cameras. You have to put yourself out there and own it and practice. Because if you practice, you will clear that frequency. It'll be cleared. You will clear your message. So not only will you strengthen the frequency, not only will you widen the bandwidth of the frequency and reach more of the 80% of the open mind, open-hearted, and open-handed, but you will clarify your message. More people will understand you. Because remember, we're trying to speak for what people are listening for. It's not what I say, as Lou Holtz told me, the head coach at Notre Dame. It's what they hear. And they only hear what's clear. And it's a lot of hard work and a lot of long practice to make things simple. To be able to explain things simply takes a lot of hard work and practice. If it was easy, everybody would be clear. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Just remember, simplicity is hard and it takes a lot of frequency, it takes a lot of frequent behavior, a lot of practice. So remember, everyone, as long ago as Shakespeare wrote, he was absolutely true when it comes to finding your frequency and building your brand. To thine own self be true. Know your what, your who, your how, and prioritize what's important to you. Apply that why to that frequency to strengthen the signal, widen the spectrum, and clarify your message. Know that the whole world is your stage. As Shakespeare had suggested so long ago, we need to capture everything that we do that is our essence, our frequency. We need to have a modification process and system and strategy. We have to have an amplification system and strategy and process as well, and also a perpetual strategy, so that as our community grows, as we aggregate and grow and accelerate, we can test, grow, and go and grow in a perpetual way. Have your own search engine, have your own database, have your own ability to access that information. The better you can access it, the better your community will access it as well. And what you will do in the end is you will provide value as a personal brand or as a product, service, or solution. You will deliver it well, and you will deliver it to the many. That's how you build a brand and find your frequency. All right, Jakey Bakey, reset the room. We got tons of questions online. Hopefully we have someone in Clubhouse. I'll take one online as you prepare. Who would be the first person that'd like to ask a question?
Yes, and to thine own self be true. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If anyone would like to ask a question in the next 29 minutes or so, please feel free to back channel me or just raise your hand. David, thank you so much again. The first person on Clubhouse when you come back will be Blaine after you answer a question online.
You got it. The first question I have online is, what are some of your most favorite brands and why? Well, I'll give you an example of one of my favorite brands is Apple. Now, you're talking to a guy that was Samsung, 1999, Samsung's head of their data device division of Samsung, the world's first convergence device, which in 99, they didn't even know they were smartphones, but they were convergence device because they converged the computer with a phone. And in fact, the phone's name was PC-E phone. But in that experience, I was pretty loyal. It was a Windows-based device, a Windows CE device. And Apple, I was a competitor to, right? The Mac, and to understand how that operating system works. Well, I'm flying on a plane, and the guy next to me opens his Mac, and it immediately boots up, and he starts working. And my ThinkPad at the time was taking forever to load, and I think I may or may not have just gotten over. I just had a virus in the DOS system that I was running. I was utilizing my BlackBerry RIM 957 pager, and I'm looking over at him, and I made a comment. I said, gosh, I wish I could use that for business. I wish I was an artist or a teacher, because man, is that productive to be able to open up a computer with no viruses in a closed system and immediately be able to be productive, accessible, and gracious with my time, my activity. This person continued during the flight to sell me on the fact that it was a business tool and that I had all the different Microsoft products that were available, a suite of them on an Apple product. This person sold me, which resulted in multi-millions of dollars of purchases, because they had been able to utilize a frequency, built a brand, captured, modified, amplified, and perpetuated the clarity of the message that even their customer could sell their stuff for them. That brand carries a frequency that's gone beyond the laptop, into the phones, into the earphones, into content. It is a frequency that built that brand, one that was based on the Shakespearean philosophy of to thine own self be true. And needless to say, one of the greatest lessons I've learned from Steve Jobs is that frequency, because he had a lot of people that had judgments, conditions upon him as he was fired from his own company at one time, but he didn't care. He never cared. What he did was learn. He learned from what other people think. Apple still today is one of my favorite brands because they know how to build a brand and find a frequency and continue to do so. So thank you very much for that question. All right, Jake, who do we got up on Clubhouse?
We've got Blaine here to ask a question. Blaine, welcome to the room. If you can please unmute yourself.
Thank you. My question today is about Infinity Plus One. I've heard you talk about how you use that to shape your perspective, but I'd love a little bit more of an explanation.
Yeah, it's a study of mine, Infinity. And it really started by a thing that I heard, that it's that if patience, for me, patience is a problem. Persistence, not a problem. Patience, it's a challenge. And somebody told me, you know, David, if you had infinite patience, everything would happen immediately. This to me defines Infinity Plus One. Uh, Imagine infinite patience, imagine infinite resources, imagine infinite of everything, which I believe exists, including infinite patience. Talk about living in the present. Talk about a mindset that makes you realize that your entire journey, your entire life is simply to kill off limitations. Think about within the context, if you believe in infinity and an infinity plus one, because always, if there is infinity, there'll be infinity plus one, because there is a never ending amount of whatever it is, patience or money or land or whatever it is, it's infinity plus one. And whether it's universes or metaverses, infinity plus one. But understanding in the context of infinity plus one, everything becomes immediate. We now can exist in the realm of prioritization and importance to ourselves. It's so hard to grasp how time is reconciled into infinity because of infinite time. The closest we can come to infinite time is the speed of thought, or even faster, the speed of truthful thought. That's why I pursue it. That's why I believe in the consistent, persistent pursuit of that potential of infinity of everything. Infinite thought allows us what? To go back a million years in less than 0.1 of a second in man-made constructive speed of light or time, or go in the future a million years. Thought can move into the infinite. Time and space restrict us. We live this journey within the context of this idea. The only thing that should die off is your limitation. When you think you're asking big, when you think you're wishing big, when you think you're wishing a lot, when you think you're asking a lot, when you create interference between you and infinity, realize I got to kill off that limitation. Is it the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful that's causing the interference between me and more than enough? More than enough, and I can even imagine. What am I so afraid of? Am I afraid of infinity? Am I afraid of infinity plus one? What am I doing today to prove I am? I spent the majority of my life trying to get happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. Now I spend all of my time trying to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it. I am happy. I am healthy. I am worthy. What am I doing to interfere with it? What do I need to kill off or die those limitations between me and infinity? I am pursuing infinite patience because I do want everything to happen immediately or instantaneously. And the more patient that I get and combine or reconcile persistence into the mindset of patience, putting my attention and all five levels of my intention, not only what I do, but what I say, what I think, what I believe, and even what I feel into the cause, not the outcome. I'm speeding up the man-made construct of time, getting there faster, but I'm also exponentially, relatively getting there exponentially faster through this idea of infinity plus one. So everyone take away today, the only thing that should die in your life is your limitations. And if you don't and can't convince yourself of that, think of infinity or even infinity plus one. Thank you very much, Blaine. Jake, who's coming up next? I got tons of questions online.
Yes, and the only thing that should die in your life is your limitation. Just want to stress that one more time. We've got Yvonne coming up next here on Clubhouse. And if anyone wants David Build Your Brand guide, it's at the top here on Clubhouse. If you're tuning in from other platforms as well, just email david@dmeltzer.com, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll hand it back over to you, Dave.
You got it. The next question is, how important do you think giving back will be to building a brand in Web3 and beyond. Well, whether it's Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3, all still exist, by the way, all are utilized. Giving back uh, is of utmost important. But I don't like to say giving back because that has connotations of trading or negotiation. I believe in giving through. See, those who give back appreciate what they have, extend, grow, and expand what they have. They can acknowledge it, acquire the knowledge of what they have by giving it back. But you also can acquire the knowledge by letting things go, or having it stolen from you, or having it go missing or lost. Anytime you relieve yourself of what you appreciate, you get and acquire the knowledge of it, you acknowledge it. But the context of giving back falls beyond that, whether it's Web 1, Web 2, or Web 3. Web 3 being blockchain, being the democratization and fractionalization and authentication of whatever subject matter or currency that you're dealing with or asset. But beyond that, if you understand that the key component of giving beyond, giving through, not giving back, is to ask, is to wish. It goes back to the infinity plus one. If I truly believe there's more than enough of everything for everyone, then of course, if there's an omniscient, all powerful, all knowing source that loves me more than my mom loves me, if I believe there's something bigger than me that loves me that much, then I'm going to ask for more. I'm going to ask for infinity plus one so I can appreciate it, acknowledge it by giving it through me to others. Most people live in a world of not enough and they don't even realize it. No matter what they have, they live in a world of not enough. Everything that happens to them is punishment. It's not promotion. It's not protection. It's punishment. Everything's happening to them. A few people create abundance in their lives and they misinterpret the abundance. They appreciate everything they have and they acknowledge it. They give to receive. They give back. And in this world of not enough, they keep buying things or giving things to make themselves happy. They keep buying things or giving things when they're not happy. They keep buying things or giving things to impress people. They keep buying things or giving back things to impress people they don't like. But as Blaine had asked about infinity plus one, if you can transcend the limitations, that the scarcity of either the world of victimization, the world of to you, instead of the world of for you, buying things or giving things you don't need to impress people you don't like, and transcend it into a world of abundance where you're giving through you with not only appreciation, extending its value, appreciating is expanding value, right? If your house appreciates, it goes up. So does the value of whatever asset that you have, whatever you wish for. And then acknowledging it, not only by giving it away, but look, by learning from it, which comes from lost mistakes, failures, setbacks, manipulation, stealing, whatever else could happen that you now no longer possess the appreciated asset. But it doesn't matter, because unraveled in all of that, unraveled in the mistakes, the setbacks, and failures is the lesson. And the lesson is the light. The light allows you to live in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone, not in a world of to you, not in a world of for you, but that world of giving through you. It will be essential in a democratized platform like Web3, in a fractionalized, democratized platform like Web3, in a democratized, fractionalized, authenticated platform of Web3. It'll be essential to allow things to go through you. Each of those capabilities, democratization, fractionalization, and authentication, all will be enhanced with the abundant mindset, heart set, and handset that it was made to provide for and through. Great question, by the way. All right, Yvonne is up next. Jake, what do you say?
Welcome, Yvonne, to the clubhouse. If you can please unmute yourself and feel free to ask away.
Hi, thank you, David. I don't really have a question. What I want to do is to sit at your feet and learn. I mean, I'm learning so much from you this morning. I can't get enough of it. So I just started following you everywhere because, trust me, a man that speaks like you have so much wisdom to give. And I think everybody should be getting this wisdom. And I was just tweeting you out on Twitter and everywhere because even though the world is stage for you, and you have a lot of followers. I think you should have more. I think you should have more of the word, and that's just what I wanted to say. So that's what I came up to say, not to ask any specific question. I also followed you on LinkedIn. Trust me, I'm all over you.
Well, join us every Friday. And all I ask of everyone is to share my content and do good deeds. And Yvonne seems to adhere to that. And I appreciate everyone who does share my content and do good deeds. I love the word wisdom. I redefine the word wisdom as dummy tax. So I'm just a fast learner. And by being a fast learner and being able to access information of the omniscient, all powerful, and all knowing, I'm able to express to promote the genius key. Genius, as I stated at the beginning of this, is I'm promoting Amelia and the genius key. Genius is the expression of the omniscient, all knowing, and all being. And so that all powerful, omniscient, all being that loves me more than my mom, the genius, the wisdom, the dummy tax is coming through me. It's not mine to hold. It's not mine to keep. It's mine to recollect, remind, and remember with. Remind, recollect, and remember with the expression of genius, the expression of omnisciency, of infinity. And so, Yvonne, thank you so much. I want to reiterate that my life's mission is to empower over 1 billion people to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and to be happy. In other words, to be happy. And that's how we do it here on this world, in this earth. So the only way I can figure to do that is to share my content that resonates with you. Don't share the content that doesn't resonate. Don't feel obligated if I feel like fingernails on a chalkboard. If you have judgments and conditions and separations from anything that I say, then make what I say more clear to you or to others, and just learn from it and change it to what suits you. And whatever resonates with you will resonate automatically with 10%. And we'll continue to capture the open-minded, open-hearted, open-handed people. And we will continue to allow the closed-minded people to fall away or to fire them from your lives. All right, Jake, who's up next? I'm going to take another question online.
Niku will be next when you come on Clubhouse, and then when you're ready, we've got a question on Clubhouse as well.
You just said Clubhouse twice. That
on TikTok.
Why don't you give me the TikTok question? I'll take Niku, then I'll take one on, I want to say we set a record today. Over 64,000 people registered for free training. Not bad. I started with 2 people at Lee Steinberg's office 22 years ago. 2 people training them in sales, have been there every week for over 22 years. Over 64,000 people registered for the training. Obviously, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, listened to it on the podcast and it amplified. So I want to thank everybody and also illustrate how to build a brand, find your frequency, and continue to ask people, share this content and do good deeds yourself. But go ahead. What's the TikTok question for the day?
Yes, and that is stage theory at its best. So thank you for all that you teach, Dave. The question on TikTok is from Massive Impact, and it is, how does an upcoming athlete find sponsors and brands to partner with?
Well, first of all, it's determinative upon your audience and your frequency, right? It's so interesting because of the NIL deal. There's so much more opportunity in endorsement sponsorship. The best way to get endorsement and sponsorship is to build a community. So all the lessons that we hear today, the nice thing is within the context of being an athlete, there's micro communities that are extremely valuable. Within who the spectrum is, if you can build a brand within that community, there's so many different ways to attract and to be able to articulate a quantitative value to brands for endorsement, advertising, sponsorship. But it is, unbelievably unrealistic to think that you can get sponsorship, endorsement, and branding without having a community. I don't care how great of an athlete you are. And I get approached every day by extraordinary athletes in all types of places. And they wonder why, my client from cornhole, that's a cornhole champion, has so many more endorsements and sponsorships than they do as a female professional golfer. And I said, well, because this cornhole champion has a huge community. So companies, sponsorships, endorsements, advertisement, they want to raise their awareness within a community. The other athletes are far more, and I hate to, compare, but, I just think that, a female professional golfer probably has much more athletic talent than the cornhole champion, but maybe I'm wrong. But there's one thing I can tell you as a marketer, a sponsor, an endorsement guy, a licensee person. I'm going with the person with the bigger community. So start today, start building your community 2 at a time, just like I did. Try to get ambassadors, 2 people that will tell everyone to watch you play cornhole. To get 2 people a year, it'll be a very slow first 10 years or 10 months or 10 weeks or 10 days, determined upon how quickly you can get your ambassadorship to aggregate upon itself. Sometimes it takes minutes, by the way. I've seen people build 9 million person audiences in a month, but guess how they happen? 2 ambassadors getting 2 ambassadors, then 4 ambassadors, those 4 getting 4 ambassadors, and then 8 ambassadors getting 8 ambassadors. So if you want to build your brand for sponsorship, advertising, endorsements, and licensing, working the NIL side of things, you better concentrate on one thing, the cause. Put your intention and your focus and your intention, what you do, say, think, believe, and feel, all towards building that community of who you are, your frequency, as whatever it is you do in not only the athletic pursuits on the field, but also who you are off the field. That's what will build that community. All right. That's the question from TikTok. Jakey of the Bakey, who do we have on Clubhouse?
We have the one and only Niku. Niku, welcome to the Clubhouse. What question do you have today, David?
Thanks so much. I have the red bar. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Well, first of all, David, thank you so much for being a guest on the Failing Forward podcast. It was just released last week. So I hope you've had a chance to see the editing that we've done on that and approve it. And if not, let me know.
I approve all editing from everyone. So it's like asking
headshots.
No.
I stayed in my lane.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like asking Picasso to paint with crayons, trying to edit David Meltzer. Sorry.
It's like, here you go, Picasso. Here's a black Sharpie. What? So I actually have 2 questions for you, my friend. The first one is, where was my invitation to the Masters next week? No, I'm just kidding.
No, well, first of all, you're invited. See, all you gotta do is ask.
I love it. I'm actually in Southern California for the next few weeks, so I know you're here. Let's try to link up sometime in between. But the real question I had for you is this. In building a community, I find it very challenging to manage all the different platforms. And I'm at a place where I know I need to grow my team, but I'm having a hard time having that trust and having someone like a Jake. So my question is this: how do you find a Jake? How do you vet that person? How do you duplicate that person? And, you know, essentially just have a Jake that can do all the things that Jake does with managing multiple platforms and all that. And then as the brand creator, how do you relinquish the control and allow that person to flourish in that role?
Yeah, that second part's the hardest part because it takes faith in your own practice. And here's the practice that I've instituted over the years. And it's a 3-stage Jakey Bakey maturation process. And I've used it before, but it works. So you take a Jake who you'd like to bake and you put him in the oven. What does that mean? You have the first stage, you let Jake watch you. So you have to make an investment in Jake. You have to take the time to go ahead and say, look, I got to pay Jake to watch me. And usually for me, in the context of what I do, it takes 90 days of shadowing, of them learning and teaching and the values, the practices, the relationships. And so I have what's called a learning stage. I've done it in all my businesses. And I take my time and make the investment in the person by allowing them simply to shadow me for a certain period of time. After that, they then are in what I call the execution phase. They go from at least being able to break even from what I pay them to the point where I like 3 times ROI on each of my Jakeys of the Bakeys. And that means that I work with them until I get them to a point where they have a 3 times ROI in what I pay them. And so that takes, in my business, 90 to 180 days. At each stage, I can let them go. I can let them fall away or fire them from my company. And I always try to find a better place for them as I learn why and how I failed them in getting the alignment, the synergy, the supplemental capabilities, the skills, the knowledge and desire to at least break even, or if they can, then break even to get to at least a minimum of 3 times earnings for my investment. And then after they've worked with me for 90 to 180 days, I then supervise them for a period of time. And after supervising them, and I see that they have now the capabilities of somebody shadowing them for 90 days, working with them for 90 to 100 days, and them supervising someone, I now have a scalable model that not only transcends the values and daily practices, not only transcends the relationship capital and situational knowledge that I need to communicate and transcends, but it gives me that confidence that I can let it go. It actually helps to relieve the dis-ease that occurs by me feeling like I can do it better. And what happens is I allow that person to make what I do better by making it their own. By watching what I do, learning from it, working with me and seeing what we do and executing on it, and then learning from it to supervise them into allowing their personal experiences, their personal skills, knowledge, and desire to be baked into it. I now have a system that not only grows, scales, and accelerates, but it allows me to let go, to scale on my side, to put my attention and intention into learning new things, not just executing on what I already know. I use an example, the win-loss columns of lessons. The W when it comes to lessons is a waste of time. So if I just control everything, I'm just living in the W column, right? I'm just wasting time. I'm not learning anything. But if I go ahead and utilize the 3 stages of scaling employees and talent by having a learning phase, an execution phase, and an equity phase, the learning phase of shadowing me, the execution phase of working with me, and the equity phase of me supervising and then them becoming a supervisor, I now have created a greater value because we are appreciating through this process each other. The word appreciation means to add value. We then acknowledge each other. We've acquired the knowledge of each other by giving away our skills, knowledge, and desire. And now we both ask for more. That person asked for people to supervise. I'm asking for more people to fill the gap as well and asking for more to learn myself. This is the key system to not only maturing talent quickly, aligning talent quickly, but also allowing you to have the confidence, clarity, and balance to let it go. And I have a staging, the 3 stages of scaling a business. I'll send that to you, Niku. So just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. In fact, if anybody wants the scaling a business document, I might do a training on this, actually. Make a note of it, Mikey, if you don't mind. Scaling a business might be a good one to do on getting into depth about the learning, the execution, and the equity stages in scaling a business and scaling talent and letting go. What a great question. Please come visit me at the Masters. If you don't make it there, I'll be back. I'm going Dallas, New York, Augusta, and then New Orleans. And I'll be home a week from Monday night. So if you're still around Southern California, come by the studio. We'd love to see you in person and give you a real person hug.
I love that. I'll be there till the 18th. So I want to do a follow-up because that's a sportsman marketing model, which is the exact same model that I cheat, copied, and stealed when I was building my sales and marketing company a decade ago. So thank you for that. I appreciate you for being my #1 competitor in Los Angeles.
I have no competition. It's the thief of joy. So you need any business, we got plenty of business to give you. And we need good people doing what you do. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
So here's the follow-up. But Jake, you made an interesting point. You said that your goal is he has a guarantee, then you want to teach him how to 3x the guarantee. If I'm hiring someone that's going to be an EA and I'm paying them, let's say 20 an hour to start, and then go up to 40, 50, whatever, how do they 3x what their guarantee is in that role? Is it more of an administrative, not necessarily? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me, I have an infinity plus one abundant business. So everybody can bring in business. Everyone has their basement, their salary, which is their skills and knowledge, but I allow them to utilize their desire, their freedom, their creativity in order to effectuate, bringing in, different sponsorship for the TV show, bringing in business development opportunities, speaking gigs. I pay everyone in my company an upside so that their potential is the only thing that limits their ceiling. Every single person, whether you are a copywriter all the way down to my EA, to my presidents, to Jake, there's so many opportunities, and it's my capability, my opportunity to provide a platform where everybody can 3x or 10x, as my boy Grant likes to say, giving them an opportunity to ask. Right. I teach everyone the open-ended question guide. What are you doing today for keynote speakers? What do you like about your speakers? What don't you like about speakers? Would it help you if I introduce you to Dave Meltzer? You can talk about building brands, scaling a business, leadership, emotional woo-woo stuff, whatever you like, tracing calligraphies. Or do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking for someone that may be able to utilize David as a speaker. And so I have interns who have made 6 figures by bringing in business opportunities because I've provided the opportunity to be creative and to live to their potential, not just be basement out by their skills and knowledge, but allow them to utilize their desire to expand, grow, accelerate into huge opportunities economically. Does that sound fair? You're perfect. Email me. I'm happy to help. David@dmeltzer.com. I want to thank everybody. This has been Finding Your Frequency, Building Your Brand. Most importantly, I hope you take away that it's important to be more interested than interesting, and share my content, do good deeds, be kind to your future self. Do those good deeds, share my content. I certainly appreciate it. Jake, if you wouldn't mind closing out the room, giving everybody where they can reach me, whether they want the guide for finding the frequency, building a brand, or scaling a business, or my book, I'll sign it to you, send it to you, pay for shipping. Come visit me in New York. We're going to do a meetup on Sunday at 1:30 at the Renaissance Hotel, 1:30 Sunday in Chelsea. I'll be at the Masters on Wednesday at a meetup. Email me for that. Come meet up. We're going to do a barbecue meetup at our house in Augusta, Georgia at the Masters. And then we'll do one in New Orleans. I'll be speaking there on the sports business side on Monday. So please come join me in person. I would love it. We will see you soon. Jake, go ahead. Reset the room.
I sure will. Let's flash our mics, Dave. That was an incredible training.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We're rocking and rolling. Stay online if you are here for our Instagram live. I got people coming on. Thank you, everybody else. What a great training.
Hey, I'm on vacation every single day, cause I love my occupation. Hey, I'm on vacation. If you don't like your life, then you should go and change it. Hey, I'm on vacation every single day, cause I love my occupation. Hey, I'm on vacation every single